What is up, mofos? This is Anarchy, and I'm gonna finally do that Dat Ass Emblem tutorial for you guys. It has taken me a while and to get it going, and I finally am able to have some time to do it. I had a collaboration with a fellow gamer, Justitude, and that took up most of my weekend as well as some other things, so family related. Anyway, let's get this underway. And I will show you, this is the emblem that I will be showing you guys how to do. And it will probably take a while, but I'm not going to be doing it like from scratch. I'm going to be, like, I have the opacity set to 0 on all of these layers, so you're going to be able to see step by step how I did these. Because, like, if I were to do it completely from scratch, let's be honest here, I probably wouldn't be able to make it exactly the same. I could get it close, and it would take, like, I think this one took me like 4 or 5 hours to do. I don't think you guys want to sit through 4 or 5 hours of me fumbling around trying to refigure out how to make my emblem. So anyway, I thought I'd lower the opacity down and go into each layer and reveal it so that you guys can kind of follow the method at which I created this emblem. Anyway, without further ado, let's get started. All right. I believe I started with her ass. Shockingly enough, right? So, to get the shape that I wanted, I used 2 semicircles. As you can see, as it's highlighting up here, but we'll go ahead and do this first one and increase the opacity on it. But that's going to be 1 butt cheek. And then the other one is right here. So that's basically the top part that you're going to see whenever you're looking at the emblem itself. But the part closest to you, her ass. I added another semicircle in for shading. And that one puts a little bit of shading between the 2 cheeks. Now you can adjust the opacity on that, you know, to see how you see fit. That number isn't really that relevant. That's kind of personal preference, how much shading you want versus how much shading you don't want. So that's kind of irrelevant, but I do recommend having something there so that they can differentiate between the 2 humps, if you will. Alright, the next part, to finish off her backside, would be to shape a heart, and I will reveal that really quick, which, as you can see, the shape right there forms up the rest of her backside. And see, well, it shows you the coordinates on there, so I mean, if you want to get exact, you could pinpoint the coordinates that I have and then shape it similarly to what I have. Will this get it exactly the same as mine? It'll get it pretty damn close. So, I mean, this is the best way I could think of getting you guys a tutorial for this. Okay. So, yeah. We'll put that in the right spot. It was already in the right spot. I accidentally moved it. Okay. We'll just do the entire butt and asshole and vagina and her panties. Let's do all that right at the beginning. Sounds fun, right? Sorry, that was bothering me. There was a little bit of a misalignment going on. Alright, so this next piece is well, I guess I could show you what exactly it is. It is called a swoop. I mean, it just looks like a beak to me, but, you know, it's whatever. And, it does more shading for her ass. And I keep that one at 100% opacity. And what I ended up doing with it is going into color picker and putting a gradient on it. I went from black to the actual skin color, which if you want to know what color I'm actually using, it is on the very bottom, and it's the third one from the left. That is the color that I actually use for her skin. It's more of a kind of a greenish hue, but I feel like it works the best. So I mean, you can change that up however you see fit too. That is completely up to you guys. Alright, enough of that. So now we have the basic mold of her ass and the shading in her ass. Alright, what else we got here? We did these three. That's her upper body. I guess we will move on to her asshole. Exciting. Alright, for the shape that I used, it's called a paint splash. It looks just kind of like, I don't even know how to describe how that looks, to be completely honest with you. It's a paint splash, and it looks like a circle that has a bunch of little ridges on it. It's like right above the heart. So, yeah. I'm sure you can figure that one out. So, for the coloring, I once did a gradient, and for the most part, it's different pinks. So you just have to fiddle around with that yourself and figure out what color you like. But I chose pink, and then the skin color once again, just to help it to kind of mesh in with the rest of the skin surrounding area. And then I did a radial gradient on that one, just so you guys know, instead of a linear one. And if you don't know the difference between those two, radial does gradients around the center of the object, versus linear goes from like left to right. And you can actually adjust the well, at least on linear, it doesn't make that much difference on radial, because whenever you can, okay, what I'm saying is you can adjust where you want the gradient to be, so you can rotate it around the object and have it shade from right to left, up, down, down, up, you know, at an angle, however you guys want. But whenever you do it to radial, it doesn't make much of a difference, because all you're doing is rotating the gradient around the circle, and it's already centered around the circle, so it's just gonna spin the same thing around. It's not gonna make much of a difference at all. But you guys probably already know that, and I am ranting. Okay, so we'll increase the opacity on that one real quick, and that's where her asshole starts. Alright, and this is the actual asshole itself instead of the surrounding area around her asshole. And what I did with that is, like, I used the exact same object, which is the paint splash. I cannot remember the name of that for the life of me. And I did a gradient from black to skin color, and you can see like where I put all my settings and whatnot just by looking at my video. Alright, so let's increase the opacity of that one and see where we end up. I off-centered it to the left because of the angle, because that more than likely you would see it towards the back end, because her ass is going to be covering part of it. But you know, I don't think that's going to make a huge difference how you change that. Okay, on to the main event. To the vagina. So, what I chose for this is main, which if you've watched any of my other videos, you'll be familiar with that particular tool. It's a very useful one for you doing hair, but in this particular case, it was good for a vagina. Imagine that. So much versatility. So, anyway, you just pick. I don't think I did 100% opacity on this one. It doesn't necessarily need to be. You want it to look like it's shaded a little bit. And then I basically did another main, but I did it skin color, and that was to cover up the previous little shaded area there. I would put that one at 100% just to block off part of the other one, and then I'd probably reduce the opacity a little bit on it just to make it look like it's shaded. So like 40 to 60%, something like that, should be fine. Okay, now for the other side of the vagina, I did a semicircle. I believe that's what they call it. I don't want to be leading you guys astray. Let me make sure. A half circle. I apologize. Although semi means half. Close enough. A half circle. And this is the shading once again. And I think for the most part, the shading's 40 to 60% throughout this entire video. But you can, like I said, adjust it however you think it should be. So we'll just leave it there. And then we did the exact same thing as the previous one. I made a copy of the half circle and made it skin color just to cover up the other part of that, so it doesn't look ridiculous. So that's the basic shape of our vagina currently, or her vagina. No offense if you're a female. And then to actually make the folds in the labia, if you want to get technical, I believe is what it's called. We're getting sex ed here, boys and girls. I put just a what is this called? A half tube in the middle, or a little off to the side, just like with the asshole. It all depends on the angle that you have, but it's called a half tube, and I just stretched it out basically and got it to the shape that I want. And that's also going to be shading, so like 40 to 60%, somewhere in that range should be fine. Then I did a half circle, but with this one, I wanted it to look like it was shading outward. So I did a gradient on it from black to skin color, and then it just kind of gave it that more realistic effect, I guess. And I'll show you what I did on that. Basically, 45, you go from black on the left to tan on the skin color on the right. And I don't know, I think it looked better than just straight shading. If you think shading looks better, then just shade it. That's up to you guys. Alright, that's pretty much the vagina. Looks glorious, right? Alright, this video is getting really long, and I've only started. Well, I apologize. This might be a pretty long video. Anyway, this circle here I added just to add a little bit of shine on her right ass cheek. And it's just a regular circle, as you can see. Full circle. And on that one, I believe the opacity is like nearly 100%, just to show the shine off of it. So yeah, it's like 80 to 100. I mean, use your judgment. I don't think I did a gradient on that one. I think I just left it. Oh, I did do a gradient on that one. I did it from a white shine to skin color, but for the most part, I mean, it's at 78. It's more or less mostly white. I guess I just wanted it to blend in more to the skin at the edges. It is a linear gradient, so at the one edge, I guess. Alright, now on to the panties. The shape that you want to get is called a smile outline, and I chose pink. You can choose whatever color you want. So yeah, that one's going to be at 100% opacity, because you want it obviously to cover up the space around it. And yeah, that's that. That one's pretty simple. I think you can figure that one out. We'll do that after we finish the panties. But for the bottom part of the panties, you want to get, I think it's called is it a ninja star? What's it called? Half star. Wow. Even simpler than I thought. So yeah, you get a half star, and you put it to, shrink it down to the size that you want. I mean, that goes with every shape here. It's not going to be, exactly the way that you want it, or the way that I have it here. You're going to have to adjust the shape a little bit. But I'm just trying to give you guys a rough tutorial that you can actually follow that makes sense. If you have any questions on this, by the way, I mean, this is the first tutorial I've on something like this, so I apologize if this is a poor job. But if you have any questions, I will get back to you, like, as soon as I can. And if you want further instruction on a particular area, or you want a better tutorial altogether, I mean, just let me know and I will release more and more and more until you guys are satisfied. Anyway, so you get your little ninja star, and that's going to basically be the bottom of the panties. Like I said earlier, put that at 100% opacity, so it looks kind of like it's going down into the folds of her leg. Not really folds, but into the line of her legs. And that's that. Like, the star here is kind of optional. I just made it look like there was something on the panty, so it just wasn't a bland pink panty. I know I'm kind of perverted. I try not to do that. Anyway, you get a star, one white, one blue. And you just stick it right there in the middle of the little triangle in the panties. The white's going to be bigger than the blue. Or is it the other way around? It's the other way around. The blue's going to be bigger than the white. Just to give it that blue little outline of the star. Just to give the panty some life, I guess. Yay. This is kind of awkward. To make it look like the actual panties are rolled up or folded, or, you know, have little creases in them, I used that smile outline again, and I stretched it to hell. So made it really small, and put it like along the outline of the actual panties. As you can see, it put a line right into the star there, so it looks like it's kind of folded over. I did that on the upper side on the right as well, and I think it just gives it that little effect that, you know, it's not just a two-dimensional character, it's actually three-dimensional. That's, guys, if you don't think it makes much of a difference, then don't put it in there. Alright, final 3 layers, I believe, for the ass, and then we're done with that. Where are you at? Oh, there's 4. I lied. Sorry, I lied to you guys. This is called a curved line, and what it does is just shows the like little contours of her ass cheeks. So yeah, you just make that shape. I mean, that one's gonna be, I believe I put that one at like 100% as well. It's just to add a little bit of detail to the ass itself, and I put one on each side. I mean, it needs to be symmetrical, at least for me. So that just adds those little folds there. Now, for the definition of the legs, I used a mane once again. And there we go. I put it right in the middle there, and I stretched it out to where basically the tip of the mane was showing. And then I believe I keep that one at like, I don't know, 60 to 80% for the opacity, something like that, just to where it looks, you know, good enough. And what else? Oh, for the shading on her actual leg, I used a full circle, and I stretched it out into an oval and moved it out of sight where you could only see like the top portion of the oval. And on that one, you want your opacity fairly low, just enough to give it that noticeable shading. So like, I don't know, 10 to 30% for the opacity. I went towards the higher end. 27% is what I have it at right now. And if I remember correctly, that is the ass, ladies and gents. That is the ass. So I guess I will do these in parts for you guys, because I mean, I'm already at like 20 minutes for this video. So yeah, well, that's part 1 of her ass. Join us again for part 2 if you're interested in this, following this tutorial and doing this emblem. I apologize for how long it takes, but as I said in my previous video, it is a rather intricate process, at least for me. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys in part 2. See you, mofos. If you guys enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you could punch that like button, and possibly subscribe if you would like to join the MOFO Nation. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in the next video.